Hey everybody, and welcome to a different kind of video here on my channel today. I thought it would be fun to show off my friendly neighborhood apartment building I have in LEGO Fortnite Brick Life. This building was in the shop a couple weeks ago, and it also came with this Spider-Man Zero skin that you see me wearing right now, which I think is a really cool inclusion for this bundle, and I think the skin looks great overall. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the outside of the apartment building. And we're going to start by taking a look at the windows that were found on the first floor. I thought they were a little plain looking, so I added these yellow flowers. I put one batch of flowers on this side of the building, and if we make our way to the other side, you can find two more batches of flowers. And I think having the flowers by the windows give it a more naturalistic look and just gives it some really cool detail. And if we make our way to the back part of the building here, you can see that there is a door, and I assume that this door is meant for the residents of the apartment building because there's also a keypad found on the front of it. And I do think that this is a pretty cool detail, and I like the way that the door looks overall. And then as we make our way around to the back of the apartment building, you can find a couple of dumpsters that have some lights over them. This is where the residents of the building are going to be taking their trash, and there's also a small trash can beside it. And I also added this small electrical box found to the right of the dumpsters. And again, I feel like these small details really give some life to the building overall. In my head, this is where the electrician of the building needs to come if he's going to turn off any of the power found throughout the building. And overall, I'm pretty happy with the back part of this building, and I think it looks really cool at night. And as we make our way around to the other side of the building, you can see that there is a pipe and valve that I added for a little bit of extra detail. And then as we continue along, you can see that there's also a fire escape found on the side of the building. And the fire escape is actually a lot bigger than I thought it would be, and I think it looks really cool. But that's really about it as far as the details on the outside of the building go. And I am relatively happy with how I decorated the outside of the building, but again, if you have any suggestions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you take a look towards the top of the roof, there is a billboard and some spotlights that I've added for some detail, but we'll be taking a look at that in a little bit. Now we're actually going to head inside the apartment building, and you can see here that I've kind of created it to look like a little lobby. There is a small seating area that has a couch, table, and some lights above it. There is also a front desk that has some detail we'll be taking a look at in a little bit. And then there is also a counter that has a couple of cash registers. I also added this doormat that I think looks really cool and fits the overall color scheme of the building well. And like I said, here's a small couch area that has a small table beside it that has a plant and book. Now we're going to move over to the counter area, which has a couple of lights above it just to illuminate the area. I also thought it would be fun to add a jukebox behind the counter. And a detail I appreciate about these cash registers is they actually have some printed detail on them. Here's another quick look at the wall, which like I said has a jukebox, and there's also a couple of pieces of modern art hanging on the wall too. Now we're going to be taking a look at the main desk area, and as you can see there is a laptop, a newspaper, and a couple cups of coffee sitting on it. And as we head around to the back of the counter, you can see that there's a big piece of artwork as well as a billboard. I also added another potted plant and some books as well, just for that little bit of extra detail. And then here's a quick look at the newspaper as well as the laptop, which says you're fired. Obviously, whoever works here isn't doing too good of a job. Now we're going to head through the doorway here, and you can see that there is a staircase that leads up to the second floor. And this is going to sound a little silly, but one of my favorite areas that I've decorated in this building is actually right here under the stairs. And my thought process for this part of the building is underneath the stairs is a little storage area that the employees keep their tools that they use to work on the apartments. And like I said, I'm rather proud of this area. I think I did a good job keeping the clutter minimal while also making it look realistic. Now we're going to go up the staircase and head up to the second floor. And as we make our way up and turn to the right, you can see the entrance to the first apartment. I'm going to go ahead and close the door so you can get a good look at the detail found on the door here. Now we're going to open it back up and head inside. And my thought process for this apartment is I did want to keep it minimal while also giving it some pretty cool detail. And here's a quick pan of the apartment just so you can get a good idea of how I laid out the room. But we're not going to worry about that just yet. We're going to go into everybody's favorite room, the bathroom. Which again, I did want to keep rather minimal. You can see that there is a sink, toilet, and bathtub in this room. I also added a bathroom rug, and there's also a light on top of the ceiling. Back out into the living room, I do have a desk found by the fire escape door. And I'm really proud about that lamp placement found above the desk. I think that looks really cool. Heading to this part of the room, you can also see that there is a TV and couch. And again, I went with a very minimalistic approach. If there's anything you think I should add to that table, let me know. I also wanted to add this small area for the kitchen that has an espresso machine because I am addicted to coffee. You can also see that I added another light to the ceiling there to help illuminate the room. Now we're going to head into the bedroom, which is rather small, but it does have the necessities, which include a bed, nightstand, and a really cool painting on the wall. And for being a rather small room, I do like the detail that I added here overall. But again, if you have any suggestions on what I should change, let me know in the comments. Now we're going to head to the other door that is found in this apartment, which when you open it up leads to the fire escape we saw earlier. And this is the area of the building that I'm having the most trouble with. I would like to add some sort of detail here, but I'm not really sure what to do with it. I've thought about adding some plants or hanging lights to this part of the build, so let me know what you think about that. Heading into the third floor, you can see that I've kind of turned this area into a little arcade. There's this arcade sign that has some guitars underneath it, and if we look to the right, there's a little lounge area. And then as we start to make our way around the room, you can see that there's a wide variety of different arcade games to play. When I was originally designing the interior for this building, I did want to make this floor a second apartment, but I couldn't really find a way to make it work because it really is just one giant room, so I ended up doing this instead. And I don't necessarily hate what I've done with this room, but I may revisit in the future and try to come up with a different design. And one thing that I find rather disappointing about the arcade machines found in this room is they are completely aesthetic. I think it would be really cool for Epic Games to add various animations to have you interact with these arcade games. But enough about this room, we're going to go through the other door that is found here. And as we head out the door, you can see that we're back at the staircase we were at earlier. Just to give you a quick idea of where we are and to reorient you to the building, we're going to head to the bottom of the stairs. And as you can see, we're back to the front lobby and we were here a couple of minutes ago. We're going to head back up the stairs and you can see the apartment we took a look at earlier. And then if we go up again, here's the arcade we were just in. Now that we know where we are, we're going to head up the final flight of stairs, which will take us to the roof of the apartment building. And as we head through the door and turn around and close it, you can see that I've added a couple of wooden pallets here for some detail, as well as a small garden area that I assume belongs to one of the residents in the building. There are also these really cool windows found on the ceiling here, which will allow us to look down into the arcade. My favorite detail about the roof is actually something we looked at the very start of this video, which are the spotlights and billboard I've added to the very top here. The billboard was an accessory that came with this bundle and I think it looks really cool. And then of course having those spotlights on top also gives it that extra city feel. And that's really about it when it comes to the detail found throughout my friendly neighborhood apartment building. But we're going to head back up to the roof to end this video, and I do have to ask you what you think of my creation down in the comments below. And again, if there are any other details that you would like to see in this apartment, be sure to let me know and I'll try to make it happen. And if you enjoyed this kind of video and want to see more, again, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And I had a lot of fun making this video and I hope you guys enjoyed, as I'd love to make more in the future. But with all that being said, I do want to thank you for watching the video, and if you're new here, maybe consider subscribing to the channel for more LEGO content and reviews. Till next time, guys.